I love our music. Welcome to HelloChaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. HelloChaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That's Orange Whip, WIP, for work in progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyperlocal media platforms that are designed to inform, inspire, encourage, and create connections to help founders along their journey. Our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. So that should just tell you a lot about us. We are a one-stop content hub for founders, fresh and engaging stories, curated calendars, and local resource directories where we've done all the heavy lifting and hard work for founders. So they only need to go to one trusted source, one trusted place in their local community for all the information they need. So they don't need to go chase down 10, 15 different organizations for deadlines of grants or events they should go to each week. We have curated it and have put it all in one stop shop place. I am the founder of Orange Whip. My name is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. And I'm also your podcast host. We record live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we publish on all podcast platforms on the following Sunday. This episode is sponsored by the Upstate LGBT Chamber. And as the first and only LGBT plus Chamber of Commerce in the state of South Carolina, the Upstate LGBT Chamber and LGBT plus professionals and allies, they understand that diversity, equality, and economic empowerment are vital for any healthy community. From creating connections and professional development opportunities to providing resources and advocacy, the Upstate LGBT Plus Chamber is here to support you in a more inclusive and diverse upstate business community. For more information, go to their website at upstatelgbt.org. On our podcast today, I'm so excited to welcome Allison and Jamie Nadeau. They are the founders of Ink Meets Paper out of Greenville, South Carolina. Welcome to our 59th podcast. Guys, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. You guys were our cover feature in the online edition for the June for our June feature, and your photography and everything, as we were talking about in backstage, how fantastic it was. So if you guys didn't see it, go to orangewhip.com. It's the June edition of the Greenville edition. So go check it out and all their stories. And I'm going to ask you different questions than what we talked about in the edition. But for everybody, just to kind of give an overview, tell us about Ink Meets Paper and your entrepreneurial journey into founding that, because it's such a great story.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll go ahead and start. I'm Allison. So our Ink Meets Paper started back in 2008 is when we really kind of pushed ourselves. I took a printmaking class. We were living in Charleston, South Carolina at the time. And I took a printmaking class at Redux, which is a contemporary art studio. And they also have classes and workshops. And we did a little bit of everything in terms of printmaking. And I really fell in love with letterpress, which is an old print method where you use individual letters called type to set into a printing press and then print from there. And it really resonated with me. I was a copy editor, full-time copy editor at the time for a government contracting agency. And so it was very like, you're reading manuals and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something hands-on, something tactile. And that printmaking class really resonated. Letterpress in particular resonated. Came back and I was like, Jamie, letterpress is amazing. Like, oh my God, did all of this. I mean, it wasn't anything like beautiful or anything, but it was fun. And so she was like, we should track down a printing press and see if we can find one. So I
think we started by making a list of all the antique stores in South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
we were like, we're just going to start looking. And then we realized there's a small but very active letterpress community, and we're able to kind of find some more connections.
Yes, of course, this was back in 2008, so it wasn't like we really had social media.
Like, so you guys are doing the networking the hard way.
Yes, it was like real hard. There was like we did end up finding a press in Jacksonville, Florida, and it was on. I mean, it was some random like website where it was like rescuing printing presses, since it's an old. They're antique presses, so it's like you don't want them to get scrapped. And so a lot of the older printers who, if they're retiring or if they're closing down their print shops, they wanted their machines to like continue on, have new life. So we found a press in Jacksonville and drove down with a friend and got a quick little lesson from that.
20 minutes maybe.
Yeah, he was like,
I'm like, how do you use this press? How old are these presses? When you say they're antique, like what is that frame?
Our first press that we got was from 1923. So it was, I mean, I guess it's 100 now. Oh, it's its 100th year. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. You need to do a birthday party for it.
Yes, we needed to do their birthday party for it. So yes, they're old machines, cast iron. It was 1,000 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
1896.
Yeah, 1896.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. So so Jamie, what was your background when you came in? You're like, all right, you wanna get an old press and let her, like, were you in the creative community as well, or?
Yeah, so I studied at the Savannah College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Focused on
SCAD.
SCAD. Down there in Savannah, and I focused on industrial design, and more specifically, my minor was interaction design. So I really loved computer-human interfaces and the dialogue that occurs there. Obviously, computers are a huge part of our lives now, but we're still working on.
We love and hate them.
Yes.
Yeah, like this was pre-iPhone and those types of things. But so I definitely had a passion for product, and we started looking at this, and I think creatively it really resonated with us because it made us slow down. We both got to work more with our hands. I was working at a software company at the time, just doing UX and interaction design, and it was in the healthcare field, and so I wouldn't say it was necessarily super fulfilling for me. And with Allison at the military contractor, we were trying to see, hey. Yeah. What different is out there, and it sure was nice to make with our hands, and at the end of the day see physical things that we had made,
and like from everywhere from like mixing the ink to setting up the press to print to pulling that first print was all just
because I'm assuming like the supplies for these presses, it's not something you just go run down and go, hey, it's not the same ink that you would use on a printer that we would buy from Staples or something.
No, in fact, yes. In fact, the very first print we pulled, we were making Christmas cards. And we were like, I was recalling the class, and I was like, it was in this tube. This ink that they used was in a tube. So we're standing in the art store, and we're like, here's some paint. Surely it will work. Acrylic. And it was disastrous. It did not work at all. And it was just a hot mess. I mean, we made it work, but we learned our lesson there. We're like, okay, there's a difference between ink and like
ink and paper and all that. So what are you guys making? What is the product that you guys sell?
Yeah, we are a greeting card manufacturer.
Okay.
The exclusive manufacturer of the Ink Meets Paper line of greeting cards. And that's wonderful. When we first started. We spent the first 2 years really trying to figure out, is there a business here? Do we want this as a business? Is this a hobby? All those questions. And especially the press the whole time. We did services, custom services. So we did wedding invitations. Most people who get letterpress machines, oftentimes it's just like, oh, so you're going to do high-end wedding invitations. So it felt like a natural fit.
Yeah.
Learned early on was, hey, like that, it's really stressful. And I saw like, how do you scale this business if we're sitting down individually with every client working through this? I was like, this is going to be really, really challenging.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's the type of work that we wanted. And I think about early 2010, we settled on building a line because we're like, we want to print our own stuff. And we see opportunities with greeting cards. Greeting cards are a really unique product. People don't often think of them as products, but it's everything that we do here. And we saw, wow, it doesn't take much equipment or machinery to produce really high quality greeting cards. And that felt like an in for us. It also felt like it really fit with what we wanted to do, because then we could be the designers and we could print on these machines. Because even if you're a fantastic modern designer, unless you have used letterpress machines, the design is not going to work as well. It's going to be far more difficult because of the nuances of the machine. So we both like to say, like, neither of us were trained as graphic designers formally or anything, but letterpress machine will teach you the most basic elements and core concepts of graphic design in a very rigid way, which was wonderful education that we didn't even necessarily expect starting out.
Yeah.
It was good experience.
Yeah.
Very hands-on experience.
Yes.
So you guys do, greeting card. Where are you distributed? Because I mean, it's pretty impressive of where you guys are. So where do we find your greeting cards?
Sure. We are in over 1,500 stores nationally. Also have some international accounts. And Paper Source. And then we have hundreds of boutique accounts that we work with. So those are small businesses all over the country. Independent stores, gift shops. That's really, that is kind of what we see as the core of what we do.
That's your bread and butter. How did you guys go and sell and really, like, that first start out of, okay, this is a business. This is how we can scale it. We can't do these very in-depth, like one-on-one customer. We've got to create a line. How did you, what was your first customer? Was it someone locally? Was it like a big, like a Walmart or something? What was that first sale?
Our first account was Mac and Murphy in Charleston. They were on Cannon Street, and
right about the same time.
That we were
launched.
But they were our first account, and we had, I don't know, we used to joke that we had our old stuff. We would joke with them eventually, be like, we remember back when we had just like 5 cards in the line or something like that. It was really teeny tiny.
It was definitely like, we had no idea.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Again, with a few samples and saying, like, would you mind talking to us?
Yeah. We're opening a card shop.
And they're like, we would like to order 40,000. And you're like, what? Were you guys one of those examples, the TV commercials are like, okay, we're out there. Yay, we got her. And you see a little ticker of the sales and they're like, holy crap, how are we going to deliver all of this? Did you guys have those moments?
We did. So luckily, or thankfully, we really worked to kind of grow things slowly so that we weren't just kind of jumping into it like head first where it felt truly chaotic. So we both had full-time jobs as we were doing this. As we started, opened up some small, with some local accounts in Charleston. We also did a lot of like independent makers fair type things, craft shows.
Just like indie craft shows and all that.
Yeah, we did indie craft back even like when they started, pop-ups in Charleston, just to let people know, hey, we're here. It was also a way to get good feedback on products. Like it's always nice with greeting cards in particular, like people pick it up and they're like, oh, like, what does this say? What's it look like? So to see their like live reactions on particular cards was excellent. And then we worked to grow our accounts. And then as far as the like big, like, oh my gosh, things are taking off. I was sitting in my like full-time corporate job and an email came through, like I checked at lunch, and it was an email from Anthropologie, and they were like, hey, we're interested in, send us a line sheet, and we're interested in carrying this particular card or whatever. And so I called Jamie and I was like, oh my God, you will not believe what just happened. So we kind of freaked out a little bit there.
Yeah.
And then
you definitely skipped work.
I did. I took a day off.
We decided we didn't know what a line sheet was.
So we were like Googling.
So we spent the next, 48 hours building our first line and line sheet to respond, because we were like, we need to put our best foot forward here and look as professional and together as we know how to be right at the time. So they, Anthropologie did end up picking up one of our products, and through those they ordered recipe cards.
Oh, there was a confetti card
and some
too.
confetti
Yeah.
cards.
Mhm.
Yep. Was it confetti cards first?
Yes.
Okay, so we fulfilled.
I had the confetti.
We shipped. We had little small cards that had a little scoop of confetti in each one of them,
Oh my goodness.
and that was one of the first things that they picked
Are
up.
they still an account today, or I mean, is that one?
We
We
haven't
don't
worked with them in a
right
little
now.
while.
Because
Mhm.
they ebb and flow with their
Yes, as far as like their
their suppliers. Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys are both business partners, co-founders,
Mhm.
as well as partners in life. How
Mhm.
has that been? How did you guys figure that out to go, okay, we both are working in our, worlds. We want to come together and do this. Was that an easy decision? And to continue, how has that been like?
I feel like it was an easy decision at first. Like it just was a natural, like the way our skill sets, like we had always worked on little projects together, and supported each other. So it was kind of natural, like, hey, we're both interested in this. We both see there's potential here. Jamie, what are you're better at this than I'm gravitating towards this. And so our strengths kind of played well with this particular business, or I guess not the particular business, what we wanted from the business. I guess we were able to be like, hey, if this is something we enjoy, if this is something you enjoy, like how can we make this work so that it complements our skill sets, that we are able to move forward together.
Yeah.
Has there been any challenge, like where you're like, okay, this is now as you guys have grown, because now how many employees are you guys up to now, or?
So we've had as many as 8 before in the company. Right now, we are the only 2 full-time employees.
Okay.
We recently had we have 1 part-time employee, and we recently had our inventory and fulfillment manager who's been with us for 6 years. He was wonderful. He moved back to Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved the business from Charleston last year, and we knew there would be changes, and some people would be into it, and others it wouldn't be a good fit. So. Right now, I think one of the things we've loved about this business the whole time is how much we are able to accomplish with such a small team.
Yeah.
And that's part of how we've survived and thrived, for this is our really 13th year in business now, as 2 people who had no formal training in business and very little understanding of business, honestly, how it worked when we started.
And using 100-year-old equipment.
Yes.
And those changes. But yet you are in you have 1,500 national accounts that you guys are in locations all over the country and internationally. That's amazing. When you guys have come, are there boundaries that you have to set? We've talked to a lot of founder. I mean, I work with my husband too. It's like, are there any tricks to the trade of how do you formulate a good partnership as co-founders of the business, but at the same time, separate that as to keep your relationship healthy?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Boundaries, I think, or so early on we had the business in our house, and
the
first 5 years we were in the house. And that was really challenging just from all levels, like the whole work-life balance. Like when you're starting things, it's just everything you do is work. And you're like, it's like constant, like it's like you're learning and you're growing. So on one hand, I'm like, that was really helpful that we were both growing together. So that allowed us to figure out, hey, you're doing better at this. You don't like doing this.
We also sat right next to each other.
Yes.
We had 2 monitors set up on a desk, and we sat right there.
Right.
And some people are like, how do you do that without like smacking the other person? Yes. But it's true. I think, we're learning, and we trust each other in terms of like, hey, tell me about this, or hey, I'm having trouble here. And being so upfront and honest with one another and having that trust allowed us to work well together. And then moving out of the house was, I think, tremendously helpful in the sense of just boundaries across the board. The whole work-life balance is, I feel like you're always chasing like to not be working all of the time. And then but I do love what I'm doing. So I'm constantly working to grow it. But yeah,
I think getting out of the house was huge. And just, when we come to work, it's work time. It's what we do. And when we leave, we don't really talk about work at all now.
Right.
And early on, we had to, and we were constantly talking about it, constantly wrestling with everything. I think we both feel pretty grateful to be in a position now where we just don't have to do that. We come in and we've been doing this long enough that when we disconnect, it's our lives, and we're happy to spend time with each other.
And finding then outside hobbies and stuff too, I think is really important, where it's not just the soul connecting you is just work.
What do you guys do for your free time? How do you guys check out?
I love cycling. So especially up here in Greenville, there's so many roads, and things and places to explore that I'm like almost always on my bike.
Yeah. And I ride bikes as well. I'm a little more interested in, I like running and weight training. So that's kind of usually my disconnect. I like long walks. We're real close to Furman University up here, so I walk on that campus.
You guys said you do the loop around the lake?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
I haven't ever had a place like that in my life where you can actually see it seasonally year round, and just watch all the changes. I think for us, connecting with nature is super important, just because we're around technology and computers all day long. So we tend to do stuff that's not computer related outside of this.
So I'm curious, what made you leave basically low country coast of South Carolina to the upstate of South Carolina? And then you said, more in touch with nature. Was it just because your Greenville's kind of tucked under the mountains? Was it just close?
There was
or what was I'm just curious. What was the reason?
Sure. I was gonna say, so our lease at our studio in Charleston was coming to a close, and it was like, hey, if either we're staying in Charleston and going to find another place, or renew our lease for another chunk of time, or it's like, hey, now's as good a time as any to change it up. And we had been in Charleston for 15 years. And so we were like, this is the time to change it up, feeling the call to just be someplace different.
Things, financially, it made sense for us at the time, in terms of where markets were and what we could do. And like, okay, this is, if we want to move, because moving is really hard as a self-employed person. Right? I mean, banks, I could spend an entire podcast talking about banks, money, access to capital, trying to get things done, and
selling a house, buying a house, all of that.
So it felt right, and we knew we were both ready for a change. We talked about things like these were heading, right? And I think for us, having been a business in North Charleston, when we compared that with Greenville and saw the growth here, the fact that there's an LGBT chamber here was huge for us, because we saw kind of
support and community,
more of a connected community. I am curious of when you said the challenges of getting access to capital as a self-employed, selling a house. What were those because you'd been in business for a while, was it still challenging to kind of prove the, I guess your value and your, credit to the banks?
Yeah, honestly, it really was. And banks didn't talk to us for a long time until we, hit the revenue numbers that they were expecting, and even then, when it comes down to it, banks are going to look at your tax returns and see, okay, well, what was this, and we had been able to have a really wonderful year, and it certainly helped us. But, as a business owner, you look and you're like, wow, I couldn't have done that last year, or goodness, I couldn't do it this year, but that was the right year. So, and that's part of what we've learned over time is, how do you monitor your financial safety? How do you take into account macroeconomic factors for making big business decisions, or big moves? And it's, banks, I don't know. I haven't found a lot of friendliness for banks.
Yeah.
Over as a business.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
So it's more, for us, it's our Meets Paper is our bank. How can we build this over time and take care of ourselves and this autonomy that's not just always, we can't do it because we don't have the capital. You can really get stuck in that rut.
Exactly.
And also work to help others too in terms of like the team we build and growth on that level too.
Yeah. We should probably do like a sub podcast on that, because we've talked to other founders who've gone through those similar challenges and the advice that they were given. It's just interesting to hear those different perspectives. We probably need to put a little pin and go, we'll need to do one on just that. Because, we've gone through those challenges of, we did not want to go after the investment route for the marketing business. We really wanted to retain all of the ownership and going after, but it was amazing how like windows and doors and people just would not even talk to you.
Yep.
You know, big bank versus small community bank, and you know the different types, SBA lenders versus the just getting a home equity. I mean, there's just different ways of accessing capital, but yeah, I was curious. So for you, when you guys were doing, was it an SBA lender that you guys went through, or did you go to like a community, like was it a big bank, national bank, or community bank that you guys found?
So a lot of it for us was bootstrapping it and building it, and holding profits and building up something that we could work with.
So just reinvesting, reinvesting.
For years and years. Yeah, because we didn't want to go the investor route either. We wanted to retain ownership as 50-50 owners.
And also as a greeting card company, like it in terms of even finding investors, I feel like that's a somewhat of a harder business to.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, this is very much a passion business and something that we love and that we believe in. You know, I like to say this is the business. You know, I can go to bed at night easily knowing that the product we put out in the world helps people love each other and connect with one another. And that kind of stuff matters in a big way to our peace of mind. You know, and
they're beautiful cards.
Thank you.
They are really beautiful cards. People do need to check them out. So what do you think has been the biggest like aha moment for you guys throughout your journey?
Oh, the biggest one?
The biggest.
I would say, I don't know. There's so many. It's hard to you know, equate it to one huge one. I think early on, one of the big moments that I had that kind of shocked me was how poorly run most businesses are, to put it bluntly. And I thought I'd be interacting with a lot of super organized, really on their game people. And then when I started like, oh wow, it's
Kristen, our producer, he's going, no. I can tell you that. I mean, I worked with lots of companies, enterprises, you know, big Fortune 500, but then working with startup scale-ups. It's amazing where a lot of business owners and CEOs, they struggle just like us. And, you know, and it's, and the financials and the operations because we all get into it for whatever the passion is.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're an accounting firm and own that, like they're pretty, you know, well run. But even though, I mean, I have clients that are in that space, and I can tell you, even those accounting people, they still have gaps in like, well, I don't have a leadership style. I'm not sure how to do the operations to scale, you know, how to structure the hierarchy of my organization to scale. I mean, all the stuff that, Jamie, that you were talking about, like, this isn't going to work. We can't do this like one at a time kind of customer. We've got to create a way to be able to scale. And a lot of people, they struggle with that. And is that, you know, that startup. So
yeah, I think our kind of mantra early on was just, let's try to build the best, let's try to run the best business that we can in every way. And we, in a way, I structured, you know, our other aha moments were things like getting an accountant for the first time, and somebody who made us sit down and look at a balance sheet and our profit and loss statement every single month and review it, you know, and accept for, you know, when you're there with a third party and you're not with a partner, and you're having to look and go, okay, I'm posting losses month over month over month. Just feeling that and what that means. Business finance is so different from personal finance. You know, you can't post losses on your personal finance. Not making bills. So just like learning those initial things, we got on salary as quickly as we could and started paying ourselves a salary, not only because that simplified budgeting for us and, you know, in our personal lives, but it also made the business, it was like, this is the number, like, this is where we're at.
This is what you have to hit.
Absolutely. And so that was, I think, a big aha moment. And then I think the other ahas were more like we splitting and understanding our unique roles and what our true strengths were, which couldn't We didn't know initially.
Right.
Now it's extremely clear.
Mhm.
I used to print, believe it or not, and Allison has done all of our printings for a very long time.
So did you guys get help, like a coach, or did you guys go through some kind of, course to find that? Or is that something that you guys just organically through your relationship kind of?
I would say it was more organic. You read books. You are
I love business.
You love, Jamie loves business. And as far as like books on business, she will read them. I am the creative end of things. So
I'm like,
I'm reading up on all of the printmaking processes and things. So it was like kind of how, like you really helped us with in terms of setting up systems and making us more efficient, working to keep things running smoothly with just software. Keeping inventory in check, things like that.
I have a software development background because I've been so interested in computers my whole life.
Right.
So building software is comfortable to me. It's okay. Like it's something I enjoy. And I think we saw that as like, okay, this part of the reason that we are the business we are is because of the automations that we utilize, so that we can do more and more as two people.
Because you guys use Zoho. I mean, I know that was a part of in your interview of like what was a game changer tool that you guys brought on. And Zoho is for people that don't know, that's a CRM.
It's
right, but it also does
everything.
Yeah,
I mean everything from email newsletters to sales software, certainly CRM, accounting, books, inventory management. They have just a huge suite of products. The company has been around for, I think, a little over 40 years, and they're privately owned. Now they're based in India, but I really liked kind of everything about how they were building that business and how they gained ownership. They weren't playing the American venture capital game where, you might be buying in on a software as a business, and then all of a sudden it's just, oh, well, it got bought out.
Folded,
for them, but everything is going to change for all these small businesses.
Right.
And Zoho felt much more consistent.
And they also do, I didn't know that they did books and accounting. So all that is like floated in.
Yeah, that was, so we used a bunch of different software up through 2019. In January of 2019 is when I made the switch over to Zoho. And their inventory products and the fact that it tied so carefully into the books, by that time, it had become really important for us as a business to track, all the financial inventory, what our supplies were, how much we were sitting on, because that started to far more dramatically affect the balance sheet than it had before.
Like all the supplies and like everything for that.
It's on like individual sheets of paper, like we know exactly how much, like cards on the shelves that are printed versus raw paper that's sitting on the shelf, like accurate counts of everything.
Yep. Wow. And Zoho's entire kind of business is built on a unified customer information. So if you open up the CRM, you can see all of the transactions, the accounting transactions that have, generally it's we're talking about sales orders, for accounts. And just their integration across all of their products for us, and as somebody who loves data and loves software, it was like this, I like to say now, I don't think there's anything operationally that I wouldn't be able to figure out how to do with Zoho because it's so extensive. Barring our business having to scale at a just unreasonable rate.
I
don't want and avoid. We've intentionally grown this business slowly and carefully and taken risk when we felt that it was hedged and it was appropriate, and we, even that risk was managed. We're not the type of people who necessarily go out and just go big and all this stuff. Right? And I think part of it's because this business is it's who we are. so intimately tied to our lives, and our personal safety, financial safety, all those things.
If you could hit rewind, would you do anything differently?
I would say no, just because everything is a learning experience. And it's like you're looking back on that and reflecting and being like, okay, well, while I might not have wanted XYZ to happen, at the same time, I can take from it and go, oh, wow, I learned this and it opened up the way for XYZ opportunity.
Yep. I don't think there's anything I would change either. one of the things I love about small business ownership is I feel like it forces you to be a better person all the way around. I think it makes you want to do that, and because the more that you work to take care of yourself and lead, and inspire, and those things really matter from a business standpoint. I think that's one thing we really deeply appreciate about this is, when I have hit personal walls in business growth, right? And then it's like, okay, what do I do? Well, you can stop running the business, which I don't want to do that, or you can change and you can grow in this way, and you're just going to have to do it, right? Or not. Sometimes you need that push, and I feel like business ownership kind of gives you that.
Yeah. It makes you extremely resilient.
Yes, it does.
For sure. It teaches you something about the world.
Or you're like, this is not for me.
Yes.
I mean, people find out really quickly, this is not it.
Yes.
Yep.
It's totally fine to figure it out and realize like, hey, if it's going in one direction, you're like, wow, I really don't like this. If you own the business, you can change it. Like, don't go in that direction.
That makes sense. We decided to steer it. We diversified our product line a whole lot years ago, and we're doing fill-in invitations and
a bunch of different products
to newlyweds and all kinds of different stuff. And we were like, it's not fulfilling. It's overcomplicating everything. These other lines are not performing as well, and it's like, oh, that's because we do this one thing really, really great. And we make greeting cards, and we can make high-end product, and we can get it out there and distribute it. And the more that we add, it was
complicating things. So it was like back to like, hey, what are we really good at? I guess.
What's the core value that you bring? Yeah. Where have you struggled the most? But I think you already answered that a little bit. But Jamie, I'm curious, what are your favorite business books that you said that you love to read? If you were like, hey, these top books, like,
we had me in here,
everyone needs to read these.
Right.
What do you? Because I'm a big reader too. I've got my favorites, but I'm curious, what's yours?
Sure. It's let me think real quick.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
And I go through periods. Sometimes I read a whole lot, and then sometimes I'm like, I just need to let that stuff simmer.
That's right. And I also find that they all repeat. Like they still have. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to flip through this real quick. It's the same theme.
That's true. Yeah. I used to be a big self-help book junkie and loved all that stuff and would read it. And then somewhere along the line, it was like, oh, it's kind of saying the same thing. I think I got it. I think it makes sense. I know it.
You've heard it enough times that it's like, all right, it's.
Yeah. Were you reading more of like the business kind of operations type of books, or was it more of like marketing positioning type of? I'm just curious, like, what was the
there was a book
category of business?
Early on, it was definitely there was a book called I think it was called Selling to Big Fish, and it was about larger companies and working with larger companies, because that was all really foreign to me. Was it How to Win, How to Make Friends and Influence People?
That's a good one.
That's like
a foundation one.
It really is, and that's early on. That's what I had to do, and it was, how can the language of business was very important to me, and that's for us one of the ways that we really learned to speak about what we were doing and communicate was to learn this common language, and I love that about business because I think it is fairly universal. And a lot of my other education was around. It was really software based in many ways, and following companies who were building business software, who were writing about business, talking about what a good business is. I'm a little bit like a sponge, and so when in that sense, Twitter and looking at what the general conversation was, and kind of taking that into account, especially as I got more interested in finance and stuff, and trying to understand just how
it's like managing by the numbers.
It works.
Like simple book, but such foundational one.
Yep.
Because like you said, it's, if you understand those, like you can have that conversation with, a bank or an accountant, like they're all, it's fundamental.
Yes.
It is the language of business.
It is. And then it brings comfort to the conversation. It also kind of elevates you in a way to show, okay, we can communicate on this level. We both understand what we're talking about here. I think as far as books, like the most recent book that I've read is Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain. I'm pretty interested in personal knowledge management right now. Over the years, as the internet has expanded, it's been, I have found it personally more difficult to keep track of things. And
because I'm like a sponge too. I go into these, I call these midnight rabbit holes of, well, especially we're in the creative industry, both in media, the Orange Whip, as well as Bright. I have tested over 200 AI tools, and I get like, I'm just surfing on Twitter and I see another one pop up and I'm like, ooh, that's another one I need to go look at to go, is it a threat to my company or can it help me operationally? But it's becoming to the point where I had to take a step back last week just to go, I am overwhelmed with information. Like I have so much data in my head. I don't even know what to do with it. And I told my producer this, what was that, like a couple weeks ago, we were rattling on in a podcast, but I was like, I have to do a mental brain dump. I have to get a journal, pen and paper, and I literally just have to write whatever is in my head just to get it out. I can't type it. I have to write it out.
I'm that way. I'm like literally have to like
right here. But I'm curious now I'm gonna have to read that book because I am struggling with the information overload.
I think I have loved computers my entire life. I was utilizing the internet before graphics existed on it. I was at command prompts and browsing and spending time in forums and just learning. And I've always been, I consider myself very technologically optimistic. I'm not someone who's like doom and gloom. That said, I don't have social media accounts that I use because
you're like, that's why you're not doom and gloom. You're not in the space. Which I laugh. I was like, a friend of mine, girlfriend, I was down in Florida last week visiting a high school, and she's like, oh, I'm probably going to bust her. They're not going to they'll never listen to this. But she's like, she got a promotion she's in, hospitality, but she pitched to get, like, she is running this, the marketing and the sales of this really large hotel. But she's like, oh, I told them I know how to use social media and I know nothing. Like, she's like, I haven't touched my Facebook page in 5 years. I've never been on Twitter. She was like, I just started, my daughter started me an Instagram account. I know nothing. She's like, you need to teach me everything about Twitter. And I was like, whoa, like, let's take a step back because Twitter is an aggressive platform.
It is. Yeah.
They are not nice. Like, you got to be really careful. And, so we were just talking, I'm like, did they not check? Like, you're not even on these platforms. She was like, no, they didn't. She was like, but I told them I need to run. She was like, I have to run the hotels, all their social media. And I'm like, girl, like, you need to find some budget. We can help you manage that. But yeah, that was, so Jamie, you are in a nice comfort space because you're not there.
I certainly try. It is definitely not easy. And it's really, I feel like I'm constantly having to dive back in there to look and see, even researching customers and leads and trying to learn about them. You're going to go to their Instagram page.
Oh,
what's going on, But I think
we do have social media. I should say our business does. Like,
I was like, you're on your business is on social media.
I was gonna say we do. We're on Instagram.
Allison handles all Intimate's favorite social media.
Yeah, I was like, but Jamie's not. Jamie has watched The Social Dilemma, and she's like, I am staying in my safe.
Exactly. So
that's very much it.
Protecting the mental health.
Yes.
But going back to that information overload and looking at early on, I think as things were getting started, I was using the internet in the 90s and the early aughts, and you kind of could wrap your head around complex topics. And you could kind of say, there was a point where I could say, I feel like I understand everything going on in technology. And and if you want to speak to me on any of it, I could probably speak to it. There's no way, a single person could do that now. And a lot of it comes down to reviewing what you've read that day, like finding ways to capture what you're reading, kind of like highlighting on the web those concepts of like, I'm going to start just utilizing technology to hold all this stuff that I'm reading. And then at least once a day, I'm going to go in and put it together. Summation, put in something, and then learn to link that information. And that's a lot of what you'll find in building a second brain. And I think those models were really important to just kind of moving, because I was like, I don't want to fall behind, right? As a brand that's so consumer facing, like Allison is always on trends and colors and what's fresh and where things are going. And technologically, it's the same thing. I have ChatGPT up in a window all day long because it's my personal assistant, and I'm asking questions and I'm making it write Excel functions that I don't have time to write right now. That's how we use it. And we'll continue to do stuff like that.
Yeah, you need to check out Rose.
Okay.
Rose.com.
Cool.
It's basically an Excel AI.
Ooh. Oh, cool.
I love it.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like I have absorbed so many little AI tools, and it's funny because I'll be on Instagram, it'll be, and you're being targeted. Like I'll start getting in some reel, I'm just like doing the scroll, and it's, hey, agency owner, are you feeling this pain? And I'm like, yes, I am. I am feeling this pain. And they're like, here are 3 websites you need to go to. And then I started just screen capturing all of these little, they're IG reels, TikTok reels that are popping up in my, my dash. And I'm on Tumblr, which is another hell site. Like, I'm in like 3 fandoms. So I'm a big nerd, but I was like, oh my goodness, like it's the same stuff. Hey, media owner, are you feeling this pain? Do you need subscribers? Go to these 3 websites or check out these AI tools. And I'm like, yes, I need to go check them out. And then you just find that you see them repeated over and over and over again. I'm like, wait a minute. These are all affiliate. These people are getting referral links and points. They've never even checked these things out. And I'm like, I've been, I've clearly been influenced. But that made me go through my own review, and it's like, you got to test them because they all don't work.
No,
they are not great. They all don't work for every business.
Yes.
That's right.
And they're just adding. There's like, they're coming at me because I've been clearly been targeted.
Yes.
It is constant research and constant.
It is constant. It never stops. It never stops. Well, what keeps you guys up at night? Like from a stress perspective?
I sleep like a baby.
You're like, I got no worries. I'm doing design.
There's always, I don't know, early on, definitely the idea that everything was just going to be crumbling. And like, obviously, like there's some imposter syndrome stuff like, oh my gosh, are we done? Is this the right decision? I would like toil over like customer responses and being like, oh my gosh, did I do this right? Like, what are they going to think of me?
Yeah.
And bit by bit, it just, the more we did it, the more comfortable we became in our roles and in the business. And so that stuff had I guess we just got used to hurdles and then jumping over hurdles and getting through them and sometimes getting knocked down and you get picked right back up. But sleep is important and rest is important. And I think to be on my best during the day at work is when I'm able to be rested and when I'm able to show up.
Right.
And be on and be ready for it. And the only way I can do that is to be rested.
Yeah, we do really prioritize our health. And I mean, our circadian rhythms matter to us and waking with the earth and going to sleep and, sleeping well and doing anything to make that better because that the more that we do that kind of stuff, the more that we find we're able to perform when we get to work, and that lets us
present.
do more.
Yeah, and accomplish
Yeah.
more during the day, because it's like you're rested. You're not dealing with all of the anxiety that kept you up at night. And so
Right.
having that, it's like, wow, I can look back on the day and be like, well, I knocked out this, this, this. And then I can, at the close of the business day, I can look and go, all right, here's still on deck. I wasn't able to get this accomplished, but you know what? Tomorrow's a new day and I'm going to come back at it with a fresh brain. And that's the best I can do.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
having grace with oneself on some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Early on, and for many years, we did not sleep well.
Yes.
To be
I
very-
said it was, yeah.
And it was hard. And, for me, oftentimes what it was money. It was finance. And
Yeah.
it
It's
was
like, how are we going to make this work?
Yes,
it was
yes.
credit card bills
Mhm.
and credit lines and how much more I could put on there,
Mhm.
and then what sales I could close to make up for that difference.
Mhm.
And get out of that.
Yeah, who's
And
going to pay first? And
that is
Yeah.
that is a really, really hard space to be in.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I don't really have any gems of how to do it right. The one thing that we do say all the time is that, learning to find comfort in discomfort is a small
Mhm.
business skill, but it's a life skill, because
Yeah.
there's one thing that's a certainty. It's that you're going to be uncomfortable. And so
That's
the more
right.
you can not run away from that and push it away, and the more that you can say, all right, I'm just going to sit all up in it and
Show
feel
up
it,
to it.
and move through this.
That's right.
The
I
better-
had a business coach early on, I don't know, like a decade ago or whatever. And that was exactly his very first advice was get comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Mhm.
both in the decisions and like just going into spaces of the financials. You need to learn that. You need to learn the operations. You're going to be, but also going into, as you scale your company, the uncomfortable conversations you might have to have with a client or a customer, or the uncomfortable conversations you have to have with an employee
Mhm.
and staff. And they're like, it's not fun
No.
when you're having to be in that,
No.
that headspace, but you're right. You got to embrace it.
Because it's not going to go away.
It will never go away. There's always going to be something.
Yeah.
What advice would you guys give other, is there like, 1, 2, 3 kind of takeaways from a founder to founder, what would you tell people? Hey, whether they're trying to start a business or really if they're trying to scale it to grow, what things have you learned that you would go, guys, this is it. This is some gems.
I think slow and deliberate growth is key. And that's something we had worked to do, so that it wasn't, when we would be hiring, we would really work to find people that fit with our team and fit with personalities. So I think that's that slowness and that willingness to be like, all right, well, we don't have to do everything all at once. We don't have to do everything within 1 year. It can be looking at it as like a more of a long-term plan, and being okay with that would be one thing.
Yeah.
Do you have another?
Mine was actually going to be along the same lines. I would call it, I would say,
Great minds.
learn about having a low time preference and what that means. It's more of an investing term in many ways, but to me, I love it. If you have a low time preference about your business, then you accept that businesses take decades to build. If you have a skill set, and some people do, right, where they launch, they exit in 5 years, and it's over and over and over again. So I'm not speaking to those people, and honestly, I don't know if I speak.
There are very few. I mean, it's like less than 3% of the unicorns globally that are like that. So there's a lot of us that are like that.
I think for the most part, business, if you can look at things longer and accept that things are going to take longer. What's really worked for us is also a belief that if we continue to do great work, if we continue to put out excellence and always strive towards that, then good things will come our way. If we're putting good out into the world, as a business owner, I think people wrestle with ethics a lot around business. I kind of see that and looking at, are we chasing a quick buck here? Is it doing this? Does this make my soul feel good? And that's something that's always been present for us is we feel really good about what we put out into the world, and we believe in it. But the time thing, to echo what she said there, it's this doesn't happen fast, and you're going to want it to the entire time,
right?
Especially when you're in those
You want to see the growth chart, right?
Yes.
The revenue climb.
Sure.
I would say the profit climb.
Yeah, but even it,
but
even
it fluctuates.
For a period of 13 years, our profits go up and they go down.
Yeah.
And our team goes up and our team, shrinks back down. And this is happening.
Ebbs and flows.
We used to, it kind of would just eat us alive. It was just an awful feeling of like, oh, we're not doing it, because I think you can build a narrative in your brain of this is exactly how it's supposed to be.
Well, that's what they show. Like every media company that talks about entrepreneurship and innovation, and they highlight these 1%, or 3% are unicorns. And so it does create this like false narrative in your head.
Yep.
And why so many of us have imposter syndrome. I mean, a lot of it comes from, I'm not like them. I didn't get that training, or, am I really worthy to be standing here and doing that?
Wrestled with that for, 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, same here.
Like really.
Because I was like, why am I growing? Why am I not growing as fast as blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we need to normalize what the reality is.
Yes. Yeah.
So I appreciate your voices there.
Yeah.
If you so I know you guys are thinking long term. Like, what change if you could look at your company a year from now? What would it look like? Is it more national accounts? Is it a larger team? Is it, just better profit margin? Like you guys have figured out the operations and streamline. Like what would you like to see or new products? Is there any kind of a year from now look ahead? What would you like to see changed within your company?
I think that's a really interesting question, because we kind of have always been the type of people who are like, here's our 5-year plan. I'm gonna lay it out for you. We got it. And every year we update it. We know it. And with this move from Charleston to Greenville, and with our team changing, we find ourselves, for me, it's a space of letting go. And I had a lot of expectations for what this business would look like and how it'd be structured. And in many ways, we architected it for a larger team than we've ever even been able to work with. And so now it's kind of like a letting go of, this is what I think the world expects us to do. And we're much more interested in, all right, we've spent 13 years doing this. Like, we have tons of artwork, and we actually got to partner with Walmart for their 2023 Pride collection this year, and utilize some of our artwork.
Celebration. That's an awesome.
Thank you.
Milestone and goal. Yeah.
There were a few greeting cards in there, but it was picnic blankets and socks,
accessories. So it's very different from greeting cards
we had never done before that still utilized our artwork and talked about our brand. So that's kind of, for us, and I know for her for sure, like, it's kind of opened up. Wow, what can we do, and what does this look like? And so to me, in a year, I want to see us. We're very focused right now on internal methods of work, like the way that we work here.
Right.
Efficiencies. Just kind of
and improving
buttoning things up. Yeah.
We are exploring like working more asynchronously with one another. So rather than constant chats and interruptions, getting her the space that's required for, 4 hours of creative focus time.
Just thinking.
Yeah.
Creative reflection. I don't think people realize how important
problems.
Yes.
Yes.
And you've got all these inputs coming in, and it's so easy. And I find myself often distraction lane, and I'm like, oh, what? I mean, just.
You can very much just kind of get into a spinning plates where it's just like, hey, I'm keeping everything going. It's fine. Everything's working.
Or you're always busy, but it's like, is the busyness actually moving you forward? Or are you just filling your time while you're at work, in front of your computer? And I think we want to find the things that give us the most bang for the buck, like as far as efficiencies.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And allowing us, I think if anything, as people who have been doing this for so long, our free time is becoming more and more important and more valuable.
Mhm.
We love living in the upstate and hiking and walking and camping and
Exploring and
cycling,
and supporting other businesses.
certainly.
Yeah.
And so focusing on changes in our business that allow that to happen while continuing to grow and do new things.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Mhm.
at least as I see the next 12 months where my head is at.
Mhm.
Oh man, that's good. I love that. Well, how do people find you guys and Ink Meets Paper? Where do you want people to go?
Sure. On Instagram, we're at Ink Meets Paper. And then our retail website is inkmeetspaper.com. And if you happen to own a boutique and would like to carry our cards, we're at wholesale.inkmeetspaper.com. And we're also available through the Fair Marketplace at inkmeetspaper.fair.com.
I love it. I hate that we're out of time. And I'm looking at time like we
my
had an hour. They go so fast. I'm always amazed at how I say this at the end of every podcast, how fast they seem to go. Kristen's like, no, they don't. They feel like, no, they don't. Because they do. I love these conversations. It helps me. It energizes me. But I hear from founders all over the country, like they love this podcast because it's just stories that they don't get to hear on. There's a ton of other podcasts that talk about business and entrepreneurship. I think ours is a little bit. We have a unique voice out there.
Absolutely.
And so I think this is just an added gem to our podcast, number 59.
Yes, that's amazing.
I'm excited. Yeah. So thank you for hanging out with us, and without hanging out with me and Kristen today. But Jamie, we're gonna have to come back around. We are gonna have to schedule. There's a couple other founders. I love to do like a group podcast that we add to it, a special edition that we talk about financing.
Yeah.
And just those challenges and the different perspectives and the barriers and challenges. Because I've got some other people who have said I could spend an hour on the podcast just talking about what I did, the hurdles I had to go through, the aha moments and the oh shit moments that they occurred around that. That would be traditional financing, not the VC route.
Yes.
So look for me to follow up with you on that.
Okay. Wonderful.
So thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you. And again, I'm going to remind everybody, Jamie and Allison, and Ink Meets Paper, they were the cover feature to the June edition of Greenville, the Orange Whip online platform. Go check that out at orangewhip.com. And so for everyone listening or watching us live, thank you for joining us. And again, we'll be publishing this coming Sunday, so you can find us anywhere. Go and subscribe, like, and share, and comment. Help us grow build a more connected entrepreneurial and founder community. Again, Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We are 100% free. Just an email to join the community. One-stop content hub just for founders, delivered in a weekly email every Sunday. We are currently in 3 areas of South Carolina, Upstate Midlands, and Low Country, with goals to expand to be in 30 markets in 5 years. So if you want us to come to your city, call us. We'll come and create our content hub just for you. This month's edition and this podcast is sponsored by the Upstate LGBTQ Chamber. Go and look at those resources at upstatelgbt.org. This current month's edition of Orange Whip is focused on the CEO mindset, and the challenges of shifting from working in the business to working on the business. And next month, our edition will be on featuring women and Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs and founders, and talking about their perspectives. So we're excited about that. And I think one of the upcoming ones, that's September, is on financial health and financial literacy. So maybe we'll do our podcast during that month. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or to support us, we are taking sponsors. Head over to orangewhip.com or send an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Again, that's orangewhip.com. While you're there, go ahead and subscribe. We just need your email. Pretty simple. Let's see, y'all. I think that's it. Thanks for tuning in to HelloChaos. Again, it's where aha meets oh shit. And I'm your host, Jennifer Sutton. I will see you again next week.